What's good with y'all? It's J Roach, and I'm finna teach y'all how to mix your R&B vocals from this.
I love the way you look at me when I walk through. Never knew that I was feeling.
To this.
I love the way you look at me when I walk through. Never knew that I was feeling. Took a couple years to give you. Yeah, I'm mentally.
Alright, so first thing I do is I create a recording track, and on the recording track, it's got my auto-tune, it's got the EQ that I use, and it's got a little bit of compression on it, just so that I can hear that in my headphones. After recording, I'll drag the track from the tracking track to my vocal track, where I'm gonna do all my mixing. And then the first thing I do before I even put it onto a main vocal bus is what I do is I put my auto-tune, EQ, and compression directly on the vocal. So first of all, I'm gonna have so directly on the vocal chain, I'm actually gonna put this auto-tune access on the E minor, or E major I should say. I'm gonna put my EQ, and this is also a stock plugin to Pro Tools. I'm gonna EQ it a little bit. I'm gonna put a little compression on it to make the levels pretty much even, and give it some more body. And that's all before I put it in my main vocal. So my main vocals are gonna go bust to my main vox. My doubled vocals are gonna go bust to my double vox. And then my ad-libs are gonna bust to my ad-lib track. So after putting these plugins directly on the vocal, I bust them directly to an aux track. So if I'm running my mains are gonna go through a main auxiliary track, my doubles are gonna go through a doubles auxiliary track, and my ad-libs are gonna go through an ad-lib auxiliary track. All of which are gonna be bust to another big vocal bus, where I can turn down the volumes and such. Alright, so first things first, I'm gonna add a noise gate just to get all that white noise out the background from, not recording in a professionally sound treated room. So you're gonna have your noise gate here, the settings that I usually have for it. Next, I add an EQ. This is all waves EQs. So I'm taking a little bit of this mid boxy area. I'm boosting it a little bit because of my mic. All these settings are gonna be completely different based off your mic, your vocal, your gain settings, all that. So I also boosted a little bit of the highs around 8,500 hertz. Here's what it sounds like.
I love the way you look at me when I walk through. Never knew that I was feeling. Took a couple years just to give you.
We add a little CLA2A compression to give it some more loudness, some body, some leveling.
I love the way you look at me when I walk through. Never knew that I was feeling. Took a couple years just to give you.
So my first compression directly on the vocal, I usually like the gain reduction about 0 to 3, 1 to 3 dBs. And then when I get to the actual main vocal where everything's gonna be, I like to get a little gain reduction from like 5 to sometimes 10 gain reduction. I don't care what y'all say about it. That's just what I'm doing. Next thing is to get my favorite EQ, the SSLE channel. Here are my settings.
I love the way you look at me when I walk through. Never knew that I was feeling.
So it looks like in this one specifically, I'm giving a little bit more air around the 14 kilohertz range. I'm taking away some gain in the 4.K hertz range, and then pretty much leaving it normal from there. I added another one, and this one's doing a little bit more boosting around the 10K area and a little bit more reduction around the 3K area. These are all places that you guys got to do homework on your own vocals, your own microphone, stuff like that. So these are just places I found that made my vocals sound good to me, at least. Next thing is a 76 compressor. This is also a stock plugin.
I love the way you look at me when I walk through. Never knew that I was feeling. Took a couple years just to give you. Yeah, I'm mentally hard as an issue. To a life and on God, but you ain't here.
It's compressing a lot, I'm not gonna lie to you. But I like the sound of it, so we're gonna keep on going with it. Next, I got the C6 to actually tame some of the mid-high areas. Sometimes I'll take the threshold down for the high frequencies a little bit more. Depending on how I'm liking it. This is all depending on how you're liking it.
I love the way you look at me when I walk through. Never knew that I was feeling. Took a couple years just to give you. Yeah, I'm mentally hard as an issue.
I had a stereo 1 imager. I don't make it that wide, but I definitely widen my main vocals just a hair. Literally says like 0.61, as opposed to on my doubles and my ad-libs, I'm widening them out completely. And by the way, the ad-lib track and the main track and the double track basically have the same exact plugins and settings for the actual mixing process, but for the effects are a little bit different. Last but not least, we added DSER to catch all the S's after we didn't compress it, we didn't put some EQ on it. So definitely add some de-essing, get them S's out of there.
I love the way you look at me when I walk through. Never knew that I was fiending. Took a couple years just to get you. Yeah, I'm mentally at heart is an issue.
Fire, you know what I mean? All right, so let's start with the actual effects. I like to start with some parallel compression. Here's where I actually bust it all the way up. So parallel compression is just giving it some more body. I compress the vocal in another bus, another auxiliary bus, compress the hell out of it, and then actually send that right back to the main vocal to give that like body in that back end. So here's my settings on my CLA. Here's what it sounds like.
I love the way you look at me when I walk through. Never knew that I was fiending. Took a couple years just to get you.
So you can definitely tell the difference. Next is I got a doubler. I love a doubler effect. Definitely giving your vocals more of a wider effect, panning 45 degrees from the left and right and also the middle. Giving a little flanger effect as well. So here's what it sounds like.
I love the way you look at me when I walk through. Never knew that I was fiending. Took a couple years just to get you. Yeah, I'm mentally at heart is an issue. So I like been on God, but you ain't here.
Next thing is I add some distortion and some like microshift from Sound Toys. I'm using the Devil Lock for distortion. I'm using microshift for a little bit of chorusy action. So here are my settings. Here's what it sounds like before and after. Here's after.
I love the way you look at me when I walk through. Never knew that I was fiending. Took a couple years just to get you. Yeah, I'm mentally at heart is an issue.
Definitely getting it louder, but definitely adding more harmonics in the vocal, as you can hear. Adding some plate reverb. I just added Reverb. It's stock to Pro Tools, so y'all can get that too.
I love the way you look at me when I walk through. Never knew that I was fiending. Took a couple years just to get you. Yeah, I'm mentally at heart is an issue.
You can hear that sprinkle in there, and the reason why there's a sprinkle a little bit is because I take a lot of the low end out of the reverb just so it's not muddy, and I take a little bit of high end out so it's not too sharp. I also double that with a big verb, so that's D-verb as well. It's a church verb for this specific song, large. The decay is at 8.7 seconds.
I love the way you look at me when I walk through. Never knew that I was fiending. Took a couple years just to get you. Yeah, I'm mentally at heart is an issue.
So I have my H delay for my delays. I got my half delay. I have my quarter note delay, and then I also have my eighth note delay. So I mix them all into my vocals accordingly. So here's the quarter delay.
I love the way you look at me when I walk through. Never knew that I was fiending.
Half delay.
I love the way you look at me when I walk through. Never knew that I was fiending. Took a couple years just to get you.
And I actually didn't even add the eighth delay on this one. I kept it muted, but I usually add the eighth delay on my doubles or my ad-libs. To top it all off, I added fresh air. Fresh air is fire. It gives it some top end sparkle. It might give some mid-air sparkle. So here are my settings. I gave it a lot of top end and a lot of mid-air. And here's what it sounds like with and without.
I love the way you look at me when I walk through. Never knew that I was fiending. Took a couple years just to get you. Yeah, I'm mentally at heart is an issue. So I like it.
And it just brings it together, man. So I'm gonna add the doubles and the ad-libs and see what this is hitting on, man. New song out now. New video on the way, man. 3000's R&B album on the way. So appreciate y'all for watching this video, man. Let me know what kind of videos y'all want to see, what kind of tutorials y'all want to see. I mix a lot in Pro Tools, so I can give y'all more mixing videos in here. I can also make some more mixing videos in FL Studio if that's what y'all want to. Just let me know in the comments. Let me know if y'all like this video. Deuces.